Hey y'all! Today we're making this totally simple garter stitch mug rug, and I'm going to show you how to do the stripes, the fringe, and everything. It's totally beginner friendly. This is a great first project. You'll need 22 yards of cotton yarn, 15 in the first color and 7 in the second. I'm using 2 colors so that I can do the stripes. You can also work this in a solid. And I have Dishie Yarn, which is 100% cotton. You can use any cotton or cotton blend yarn. You can even use acrylic. Generally with kitchen and the bathroom things, we want to use cotton because it's absorbent though. And I'm using a 4.5 millimeter US size 7 knitting needles. You can knit this flat on straight needles if you need to. I always use my circulars because it's good for knitting in the round or flat. Okay, so you can use any cast on method for this. I'm just going to quickly do a quick long tail cast on for you. And the trickiest part of the long tail cast on is calculating how much yarn you need. I'm just going to double the length of my project for my cast on tail. Put my slip knot here. All right, working yarn goes to the back. Yarn tail, the long tail, comes up here. Now you'll cast on 27. And I have a tail there, plenty of tail to weave in. So now I am going to turn this is my tail, so I'll weave that in at the end, and I'm going to ignore it for now. And now we're working in garter stitch, so we're just going to knit each stitch by inserting our right hand needle under the front leg of the first stitch, wrapping the yarn over and pulling that through. And we'll slide that stitch off. Now this piece here is my tail coming up, so I want to make sure that it stays back there. Then we'll repeat that, knit the next and the following, and just knit each stitch. Okay, once you have knit each stitch on your needle, you turn your needle. And you're just going to repeat that one row, knitting each stitch again for every row for your mug rug. Our total height on our mug rug is 4 inches, but I'm going to knit 6 rows, or about an inch right here, and then I'll change colors and I'll show you how to do that. So go ahead and knit 6 rows in your first color. And then I'll catch up with you and we'll change colors so you can do some garter stitch stripes. Okay, so I've knit up my first inch here and I'm ready to change colors for garter stitch stripes. I'm going to use the dark blue to contrast my pale green here, the sage color. It's this color is called Inlet. Okay, so I'm just going to insert my needle as if to knit, and I'm going to drop my first color. Just going to hold it back here with my other finger. I'm going to pick up my new color and I'll leave a length for a tail to weave in, and I'll just yarn over as if to knit in the same way, and then I'm going to hold that new length of yarn and pull it through just like I would. You can see those stitches are very loose. That's because everything is unattached there. So I'm going to go ahead and quickly knit a couple more to get some of that yarn on there. And then I will stop and just pull these two a little. So I'm going to gently tie my tail for my new color and my working yarn from my first color that I left on there. And that way they just don't flop around and come all the way out while I am knitting this row in the dark navy color. So I just knit as normal. Now for garter stitch, it's really nice to knit 2 rows because of the way the rows group together. They hug each other here, and you can easily see that's 2 rows. And because then we'll work back across our little mug rug here and be able to pick up our inlet color because our working yarn is over on this side. You can change colors every row. You'll just have more tails on the ends. Okay, we're going to turn and work another row in the navy before changing back to our inlet color. So when I knit that last stitch, you want to be aware that it can pull loose because the way everything is attached there, and it is loose. Okay, so let me slide that over so I don't lose my end stitches. So this is the back. You can see the color change here. On our front, we'll have 2 rows like so. And on the back, your garter stitch makes like a neat pattern as well, with the first color being in the center more and the new color on the outside. So this will be the back. So when we turn, we'll see our 2 rows of garter there give a nice solid stitch look. Okay, so now we are going to drop the dark blue and pick up our inlet again, and we're just going to bring that yarn up. Let me get it off my tail and hold on to it. It's now our working yarn. We'll bring our navy back here out of the way. Insert our needle, yarn over in our new working yarn. Unlike most of our first stitches, I don't want to make this one super tight because I am pulling up that yarn tail length float there. And then we just keep knitting across. And now we're going to knit the entire center of our mug rug here. So you can cut your dark blue once you have joined it, and that way you can get it out of the way and you have one less tail to deal with. Now we're just going to knit, repeating the 1 row repeat in our inlet color A, our first color, until our mug rug is about 3 inches tall. When we have about 1 inch left, we will change colors one more time in the same way we already did and work 2 rows in our contrast color, then switch back and work the last 6 rows, or about last inch, in our first color to finish it off. And then I'll be back to show you how to bind off and do the fringe. Okay, so now we've knit up about 3 inches, and it's time to change colors for our second blue stripe. So we're just going to loop the yarn over. Knit as if normal, knit a few more, then we'll stop. And I'm going to gently tie that together and continue knitting 2 rows in the navy before switching back to our inlet green for the last inch or last 6 rows of our super simple mug rug. Okay, that's my last one. I'm going to knit in the dark navy blue. So now I'm going to pick up my working yarn and use that to knit my first stitch on the next row. Now on this first one, I did not untie what I tied here, and I like how the colors overlapped and hit each other. So I'm also going to do it on that one. And as soon as I get done knitting my last 6 rows here, I'm going to show you how to bind off and how to add your fringe. And we can use our yarn tails from our color changes as part of the fringe for those. We'll have to join yarn on the opposite side, just like the rest of the fringe. And I'll show you how to do that. Okay, once we've reached our 4 inches tall, then it's time to bind off on our next right side row. We're using the basic bind off, so we're going to knit the first 2, insert your left needle in under the first loop and pull it over the second. I pull that stitch up a little loose, so I'm sure not to bind off too tightly. And so that bound off 1 stitch. Knit the next and repeat. And we'll just keep binding off like this across the row. Okay, once you have bound off all the stitches on the last one, you're going to pull up a long loop and cut your yarn. Okay, so to make our fringe, we're first going to take our color change stripes here. Remember, we have loosely tied the blue and green colors together just to keep them together. And we picked up the green and left the little knot there. So now we're just going to knot this all together, these 2. Get that knot up as close to the edge as you can. And then you can trim that. I usually wait till the end after I've got all the fringe on to trim it. On the other side, you'll have to join your yarn to do it, which we're going to do now. So you'll want to cut lengths of yarn that, remember, if you want your fringe 1 inch long, you'll need maybe 2.5 inches of yarn to account for the knot, and you're doubling the length there, obviously. So we'll probably go for about 3 inches so that we can make sure we have plenty of length. And you can go ahead and cut, let's go ahead and cut 2 of the same length. Scissors are getting dull there. And you're just going to use a crochet hook to pull it through. And if I like the purl bump of a knot to show on the top when I'm doing fringe, so it has the horizontal bar there like that. And the other side, it looks like a knit stitch. It's got the little V. So this is my right side, so I'm going to turn it over on the wrong side, and then I can insert my hook just under the edge there and loop the yarn over and pull it through. Then you can use your fingers to feed the ends through and pull it secure. So there's the V, and then on my right side I'll have the bar, the bump that I like. You can do it either way. So then I'll just keep adding that along the edge here. And when I'm all done, I'm going to trim them all the same length. Okay, so you just keep going. You can add them as close together or as far apart as you like, and then you'll trim them. This one's pretty short, so I'll probably trim them all like that. Keep doing that along your edges here. And then we'll just trim everything up with some super sharp scissors so it can be nice and straight. I hope you enjoyed this pattern. Be sure to stop over at ChristaCoDesign.com for more knitting tutorials and easy patterns.